In this video, I'm going to show you how to connect your 3D printer to TikTok Live to allow viewers to control your 3D printer via chat comments and even extrude plastic by gifting. So this was a quick project I came up with after finding this unofficial TikTok Live API. I just wanted to come up with some easy way that live chat could interact with some real world object. My 3D printer was already perfectly sitting there, just waiting to be used. So this project heavily utilizes that unofficial TikTok Live API. So if you want to create your own, you can go check that out. But as you'll see, I've done most of the hard work for you. So if you aren't familiar, TikTok Live is TikTok's version of live streaming. And unlike some of the other platforms, the discoverability on TikTok Live is a lot better thanks to TikTok's sort of endless stream of feeds. There's a much higher chance of someone stumbling across your live stream. Like other platforms, you can donate to the host via gifts. The basic things you'll need for this are, of course, a 3D printer that can be controlled via G-code over USB. Here I've just got my Ender 3 V2, and I've just got that fed with some cheap ABS plastic that I had lying around and wasn't really suitable for printing anymore. Connected to the 3D printer is a Raspberry Pi, and this is what will be running our code and sending the G-code commands over USB. And finally, of course, we'll need some device to actually live stream from, either a mobile phone or a webcam connected to a computer running TikTok Live Studio. One downside of TikTok Live is that you do need 1,000 subscribers before going live, unlike other platforms. As you may have guessed as well, TikTok isn't really a fan of these automated lives. There is no official support for TikTok Live scraping. Unlike Twitch and YouTube live streaming, there is a nice supported API that's a lot easier to use. And as such, the unofficial API can be a bit unstable at times. And as we'll see, TikTok implement a few things to make sure that someone is there when live streaming. But in any case, enough talk, let's see how to set it up. So like I've said, I've done a lot of the hard work for you, and you can just clone my GitHub repo onto your Raspberry Pi and follow the install instructions. I won't go into how to set up a Raspberry Pi from scratch because there's a huge number of tutorials out there already doing that. But once you run the install script, you'll be prompted to enter your TikTok handle and also be prompted to select your 3D printer, which should be connected to the Raspberry Pi from a list of USB devices. From that, it will generate a config JSON. And if you go into that, you'll see that there's a whole bunch of other parameters that are used in the software. So things like the printer extrusion temperature, the max bounds of your 3D printer, the feed rate. There's also a parameter to control how much plastic is extruded for every coin gifted. How the gifting and extruding works is that for every coin gifted, it adds that to a tally. And for every movement, if that tally is above 0, it will do an extrude movement rather than just a move without extruding. And it will decrement from that tally until it gets to 0, in which case it will no longer extrude. There are also some safeguards within the code to ensure that the hot end stays within that box defined in the config file. The first thing everyone seems to try and want to do is try to drive the hot end into the print bed, and even though there's a hard stop, the software stop just ensures that that doesn't happen. To actually run it, you use the run script and the commands start, stop, and log. So start will start the code running, stop will stop it, and logs will display the output of the code as it's running. You'll see in the config as well, there's this simulation or simulated printer that you can set up. So if you're not ready to connect it to your real 3D printer and you just want to do some testing, what you can do is go onto TikTok Live and find a creator that has a lot of viewers and a lot of engagement and replace the TikTok ID in the config file with their one. You can connect to anyone's live stream actually. And you can also enable the simulated printer to utilize a sort of dummy fake printer. And then if you start that running and check the logs, you should hopefully see the comments and the commands being streamed. Once that works, you can connect your 3D printer and see if you can get your 3D printer to be controlled by someone else's live stream. Once that's all set up and working, you can finally go live yourself and then run the code, making sure you change the ID back to yours. So as I said, TikTok have a few things to check if you're still there while live streaming. They give you this pop-up captcha-like puzzle to solve just to verify that you're still there. If you don't solve it in 5 minutes, they will take down your live stream. At first, I thought this was checking how much you interacted with the app, and if you hadn't interacted in a while, it would give you this test. But I did get it a few times while I was even commenting and interacting, so I think it might just be time-based. But once you solve that, it kind of lets you run for a few hours before prompting you again. So finally, how much did we make from this? Well, don't go counting your Lamborghinis just yet. I had this running off and on over a few weeks when TikTok would allow me. And over that time, I only made about 130 Australian dollars, which isn't a huge amount, but it was enough to buy an 8 gig Raspberry Pi 5, which I'll no doubt be using in a future project. If you want to see that, remember to subscribe, comment below, and I'll see you next time.